Hey, it's Josh. Onward is on crowdfunding right now on Gamefound, and it's a game that is claiming to be a MOBA game. And as a huge fan of MOBAs in the video game space, and I'm also a fan of Skytear Horde, which is another game from this company, naturally I was interested. So I read through the rulebook, and I have it open on Tabletop Simulator. And I thought maybe I'd give you a quick overview of the game and give you my opinions on if you should back it, and if so, maybe at what level. And I don't know, save you some time on the research since I've already done it. So let's, with that, let's get into it. All right, here we are in Tabletop Simulator, and here is Onward. And so I thought I'd start off by doing my best to describe a MOBA game in a quick amount of time. But essentially, it is teams of heroes facing off to destroy each other's bases. In the way of that destruction, there are towers, and obviously the heroes themselves, the enemy heroes, and there are minions as well, which are just mindless guys that march. They're like NPC AI units that just march towards the towers and push. And there are different lanes of these minions going down each of these and fighting each other. And unless they're pretty much interacted with by the heroes, they'll just kind of stalemate here. And each of the heroes will be trying to kill them to help push their wave, like have their wave be stronger, get rid of this so that those minions can then push down the towers. And you'll see there are 3 towers in each side here. And Onward specifically, once you've killed all the towers, then you can start attacking the nexus or the base. And once you defeat that thing, you win the game. And so I guess another main thing about the heroes is that they all operate differently, and there's a vast variety of different abilities and styles. And so that's all kind of captured here in Onward. And if you're familiar with League of Legends or Dota or one of the other Smite, Heroes of the Storm, any of those, this will look pretty familiar to you. And so that it feels like home to me, just looking at the board. So obviously they did a good job, at least visually, pulling that in and putting the main story beats of a MOBA into a board game. There's also this neutral area on each side, the green bits, that is called the jungle, and that's where neutral monsters live. And in this game, that's where you get money, is by killing them. And the gold you will spend in the shop here to get items to power up your heroes. So in Onward, there are 16 heroes in the base game. I'm pretty certain these are the ones. They're all labeled with 1. And then there are expansions that add on 8 more heroes each. You'll see that one's, I think, 3, and this one's 2. There's tiny little numbers there. I don't know if you can see them. But that was me guessing that these are the ones in the base game, and these are expansions. And even in the base game, 16 is quite a huge variety. It seems like each of the teams, they recommend that you have 1 of each color hero on a team just to make a balanced team, but I'm sure you can do whatever you want, and as people play this, they'll come up with their own strategies. But with that in mind, right, there are, if you're fighting 2 teams, that means 2 of each color are going to be in play and 2 will be sitting out. So there's a lot of variety just in that base game. Of course, expansions will add additional variety. Each of these heroes has, well, I suppose first I'll say they each have their own like passive unique ability here. So when Sakoshi loses 1 or more HP, he may move to 1 target adjacent area. So when he loses HP, he can run, kind of teleports away. So there's something unique about them there. And then additionally, they all have their own deck of cards, or I mean, it's like 5 cards, so it's not like a full deck. I guess it's 6. But they have their own cards here that give them unique abilities as well. So you can see attack 1 in their area, attack up to 3 nearby areas, right? Enemies, 3 nearby enemies. So what you'll do is choose a team of heroes and then mix together all of their cards into 1 deck, like this right here, and then you shuffle that together, and that will form your deck. From these cards, you'll draw, on your first turn, you'll have 4. Every turn you draw 2 more. Of course, they have the spell effects that I mentioned here earlier that are unique, that can only be used by their hero. And they also have a few more pieces to the cards, that I'll talk about in a second. So in a round, you have your hand of cards. The first thing that happens is there's a shop phase. And so whoever is priority will get to shop first and spend their gold on buying items for their heroes. A hero can have at most 1 of each color item, but you have 4 heroes, so each of them can have 4 items basically. As you buy things, it'll reveal new cards that you can purchase as well. And you can buy as much as you'd like as long as you have the gold for it. And then it goes to the next player and they will buy. That will not happen on the first turn because you don't have any gold. Then you have the plan phase where you take one of these cards and you're sort of blind bidding for initiative on who goes first. And so that bid is going to be coming from this top value, the movement value. You'll see we have a movement of 4, which I've not seen too many of those. So basically, if you bid with this card, let's say we take this one, we really want to go first. You place it face down on any one of your heroes. So the artwork does not matter here. This is just you're bidding for turn order, and also this will be the number of movement points and attack actions, I guess, that you'll have on your turn. So you have to consider not only do I want to go first, but also do I need that much movement or do I need more attacks, right? Like, am I okay with going second, but I'll get to do 3 attacks versus I really want to go first, get some movement, and do just 1 attack. I think for the first turn of the game, this is probably better. So I don't have to use it on Kitschy here. I could, move first with Mayuki, and I would just place it on her like this. And so once I've done that, since I'm priority first, then the opponent will do the same thing. They'll know that I'm going to activate this hero, but they don't know what I've put down for my bid at this point, since it's a blind bid. And they would do the same thing where they'll have 4 cards and they'll take 1. I don't know. This is 3-1. That worked out nice. We'll just say they're going to activate their blue person too, and they're bidding 3, thinking that's a pretty good chance that I'll get to go first. So that's the plan phase, and then we would reveal, and of course, then we'll go first. Since I've got the highest priority, sorry, it was on here, the fastest hero will take their turn. Notice the slowest hero, there's 2 phases before they get to go. So it is pretty important going first, and I'll show you why. So like I mentioned, we have movement points, we have 4 movement, and we have 1 attack action. And our hero here is ranged as well. So on these heroes, we have ranged heroes and melee. You can see from these icons. This ranged icon means they cannot attack in their same square or area. They have to be 1 away. And so I think I'm actually going to start with a melee here. Let's just retroactively pretend we're using this guy. Just for this example, I have 4 movement points, and so I'll take a chemo. I have 4 movement points and an attack. So I'll take a chemo, go 1, 2, 3, or actually I'll go 3 into here, because these guys are just worth more, right? They have worth 6 gold versus 5 gold. So I go in there and then I do an attack. So since this is, all these jungle monsters only have 1 health, and that's true for minions as well and towers. They all just have 1 health. It means if you attack them, they die. So I will attack that guy, and then you flip this over. Bada bing, I've got some gold. That's cool. We're not actually activating this effect because we're just using that for the attack and movement points. But we do have our hand of cards here that you could activate as long as these heroes are on the map. Even if they're not the active hero, right? They could still use one of these spells, which is pretty cool. But since they're all in the base right now, I don't want to use any of these. In fact, I don't know if you can. I'm not claiming to be a rules expert on this. This is just, I read the rule book really quickly and I'm trying to teach you, the big plot beats of how the game works. All right, next comes the minion phase, where the minions will fight each other, push down, and then reinforce if they can. So the first thing we do is we count momentum, which is the difference between the number of heroes and minions on each team. So whoever has more, we count all those things up and we calculate the difference. So I put some minions out on the map, but it's not very good for the example because there's no enemy minions. So let's do this instead, where I put this guy here, and I also put a random hero out here. So now looking at this, the way you calculate momentum would be, I have 3 total units and they only have 1. So we have 2 momentum, right? The difference for that winning team. So with that momentum, you can spend it to assault. This is deal X momentum to 1 enemy in the contested area. So we can spend 1 momentum to do 1 damage to this minion, thereby killing it. And you don't get gold or anything for killing minions in this game. The only way that I know to get gold is from these jungle monsters. And I suppose I'll say if you kill a hero, you get to level up and become stronger with the hero that you killed it with, or if that person's already leveled up, then a different hero. And that just gives them a stronger passive and one more movement, it seems. But getting back to the minion phase, you can spend momentum to assault, thereby attacking a minion or a tower. And if you cannot assault, then siege, which essentially just means damage the nexus. However, we can't do that. We're not next to it. Or advance, and that's spend 1 point to move all minions to an adjacent area towards the enemy nexus. Then try to assault. So I don't know if that includes an attack here, but essentially we spend 1 point to move just the minions one more zone, right? They're pushing forward. Then it says assault also. I can't remember if we actually do that or not. I'm sorry, but maybe they attack the tower. Let's say they do, just for this example, where they would do one more damage here and kill the tower immediately. However, this tower also has retaliate, which boom, we can look at it not upside down. Retaliate means it also fires back. So if this was to fire against us, it would flip over a card from, it would flip over a card from our opponent's deck. And then this number at the top, the 3 here, would be how much damage it does. And so that's what this little number on the card is for, is when either the tower or a hero attacks and we need to actually calculate the damage, right? It isn't just an auto kill. Then we flip a card and that's how we resolve it. There's also a +1 on some of these cards, and that would mean you get 1 damage plus draw again, right? So if we got that before this, it would be 4 total damage. So it's doing 3 damage. We didn't have to do that for the minion, of course, it would just kill 1. But both of these would go away. And then the other keyword that's on this tower is barrier, which means that when that tower is in play, this zone behind it is not considered adjacent for us. The enemy can still move through these zones because they're towers, but we can't target into this zone or move into this zone because the tower is essentially blocking it. In a MOBA game, there's like this threat zone that if you walk into a tower and nothing's there, it starts attacking you. And so I guess that's what they're simulating with this barrier. So by removing this, we now can push further into their side of the map. Also, this river is traversable. There's no restrictions in it. I know sometimes moving into water is weird in games. If you've played a MOBA game, you'll know that this river is easily accessible and kind of a main highway to go across the map. So it's a very important zone. So that's kind of the minion phase. And then after that, then we reinforce all the areas. So if that would be, by default, these M zones. If there are no minions on the map, this is like the default zone to place them, right? So up here we can see an M. We would just place 1 of each side's minions in that zone. And it's also important, right, just to mention that momentum, if there is an equal amount of minions and heroes and stuff, nothing happens because nobody has any momentum. It's just a stalemate. They stay where they are. So getting numbers advantage is how you push these waves. So we reinforce there, and then we also, technically we'd reinforce here. I'm not going to do it for sake of time. And then we would also reinforce here, which is not an M zone because this is where the minions are. So you can think basically this minion's wandering out of base, and he comes all the way here because he gets stopped by this guy. And then same here. They don't have any interruptions until they get to the zone. And now this is the new contested zone. Okay, so that's the minion phase. The other player still hasn't gone yet. And then there's the jungle phase. And this is each hero that's adjacent to a jungle camp can defeat it. If there is an enemy hero here, nobody defeats it though. If we're both in a zone and there's a jungle camp, just nothing happens. But since I'm here, that means I get to defeat another one of these guys. And that is one of the reasons why you really want to go first, especially on the first turn, is so you can have big money. You just get a free jungle kill, basically. And then the enemy team, the enemy hero would go, oh, one thing I did not do at the end of my turn, this guy would be exhausted, not leveled up, exhausted by turning him 90 degrees. And that's very important because once our opponent has gone as well, he'll exhaust. And now we circle back up to the top of the round where we do a shop phase. and we do another planning phase. And in that planning phase, we can only activate the active heroes, the ones that aren't exhausted. And so we'll continue this until all heroes are exhausted. And once all of them are exhausted, then we have this onward phase where essentially all the exhausted heroes will become ready again. And this day marker will move up one more. If we ever get to 5 days, then the game ends, and whoever has the most health left in their nexus will win. If it's a tie, it's whoever has priority. The way you can get priority, the way priority shifts mostly is through items, or if we both bid the same number. Let's say we both put a card out that was a 2 in this planning phase, then whoever has priority wins that for initiative. However, the priority token will flip over at that point and go to the other side. The other thing is that on day 2, you see it's purple here. This outsider guy comes in, and he's like a strong neutral monster that if you kill him, you'll get some buffs. And I won't go super deep into that, but it's just like a neutral objective for you to defeat that will give you a lot of pushing power to push the lanes. And I guess one other thing I wanted to note is that you'll notice these walls here, right? So if you once you do push through all these, you can't just destroy the tower over here and and so on, right? You really have to push each of the lanes. Okay, I think that's mostly what I want to cover. Hopefully that gives you a good idea of the game. There is a whole separate map on the back of this that just is a little bit different. Of course, there's tons of different heroes and so on, tons of items, and there is the expansion content as well in here that adds another monster, legendary monster that starts the game in round 1. He starts on this side of the river. The outsider is always on this zone with the little target circle icon. It puts another weaker legendary monster for you to fight over in the beginning of the game, and that will give you some powerful items if you defeat them. So yeah, with that, let's go to the Gamefound page and I'll give you my thoughts. Okay, the very first thing you need to consider is that shipping is a flat fee. It doesn't matter if you get just the standee version or the full all-in. For us in the USA, it would be 25 euros. In other regions, it'll be a different price, and so you need to take that into account. So going to the different pledge levels, we have 40 euros for the standee edition, basically the full game, plus that 25 for shipping. I do think that kind of rounds out to be just the regular price of the game. So really, you're just backing this to secure a copy and to get it early. But I also say that I agree with their marketing language here, where it's saying it's not just a chopped up starter box. I think there actually is a lot of content in this game, just in the base game alone. And unless you're going to play this game religiously a ton of times, it's probably all you need. I have this habit of wanting to get everything, and I'm sure many of you are like that, where I don't want to miss out or not have the options later on. And it does kind of suck that these expansions, for now at least, seem to be crowdfunding exclusive. And so if you do want them, you sort of need to get them now. But I just wanted to, I don't know, just reason with you for a little bit, and probably more so with myself, is just how many times are you going to play this game? Do you have somebody in your life who's willing to kind of go all in with you into this game and play it a ton of times? I do think one of the unique selling points of this game is that it is 2-player MOBA. There are others in the genre, particularly Guards of Atlantis, which is another MOBA-like game, but it requires 4 players and maybe even 6 for the best experience in that one, and it is more tactical and so on, and a little maybe less streamlined than this game. And I think the biggest selling point of this game is just how easy it is to get to the table and to streamline the rule set. You know, everything's 1 health. You can kind of mix and match. The heroes aren't super complex. They have 1 passive ability, and for the most part, you can kind of grok what they're going to be doing just based off of their character artwork. And so that's pretty cool. And I think it makes it easier to get this one to the table and maybe have a more full experience the first time without having to dive super deep into it to fully understand the characters and the nuances and so on. Like, I think you can sort of pick up and play this one a little bit easier than other titles, other MOBA entries. But with that, I'll also say that I think inherently all MOBA games reward you for playing them multiple times and really diving deep into them and understanding the different characters, matchups, all the items, and different strategies. And so I feel if you have somebody in your life that's going to play this with you, and you only need one other person, but if you have that person, then, and they're going to be into it, like, I think you guys almost have to be into MOBAs as a video game genre already to want to go all in into this game. I feel like that's what's pulling me in. Unfortunately, I just don't know if I have this other person in my life that would be willing to play this to that degree to gain all of this, to gain, I guess, the most rewarding experience out of this. And so that's what I'm wrestling with at the moment. And so I don't know if you need this all gameplay unless you're going to play it 10, 20, 30 plus times. I think just the base box will cover you for the first 10 plays minimum and have some unique experience. There's a lot in there, 16 heroes, right? That's a lot of variety. And so, yeah, I just have to be honest with myself, and you have to be honest with yourself. How many times do you play your games? And how many times will you play this one in particular? It does go to 4 players as well. 3 players, I probably would never recommend that. It is technically possible. I think 2 players kind of the unique selling point for this game, like I said. And 4 players probably playable and probably fun. You get, the banter, the table talk, you get somebody to plan with, but because your heroes get exhausted, it does mean that there's, some downtime where you're just not playing for a couple turns potentially. And so you have to take that into account. I think that's why 2 players may be the best, because even if one hero gets killed and is respawning for 2 turns, you're not down a hero, that you're playing. You just have 3 heroes you're playing. And then for the other half of this, the minis, I don't know. I am not particularly pulled in. I think if you're a minis person, and again, if you're going to play this a ton and maybe get it painted, sure, it's there for you if you want to trick it out. I think the standees are just going to be more functional. It's going to take up less shelf space. Like, you can see who the character is way easier because it's the artwork on the card as a standee versus, a gray blob. And so when there's a ton of gray blobs on the map, I don't know if your heroes have unique enough silhouettes for you to tell who's who. There are some little plastic rings that will mark who's on what team, but I don't think there's much more than that to identify them. And so, I don't know. I think the standees I'm just so happy they did them. I think they should be commended as a company for doing standees in 2025. I would love to see more companies do it. I just think not every game needs minis. My shelf is already full as it is of games. And so, a slimmer box, being able to fit all of these expansions into this box is also a nice selling point. Yeah, so for me, I guess I'm just not sold on the minis, but for you, you can make your own decision there. You can also add a wash, which if you like that, that's there. It adds some contrast, maybe makes them a little bit more readable from further away as well. And then, there are some upgrades here that, I'm not particularly pulled in by either. So playmat, it will not fit in the box. It's too big, so just be aware of that. And then these deluxe chips, I would have been into these if they replaced the minions and the tower tokens as well. So when I showed you in Tabletop Simulator, we were using minions that were minis, but in the standee game, they come as cardboard chits, just like all these other tokens will. And so, unfortunately, this doesn't replace them, and same for towers. And that's a bummer. I get why they did that. This is, I hesitate to say a smaller campaign. I mean, 200,000 is still a ton of money, but it's not at the scale where they can offer a ton of different options and make it feasible from a cost perspective. And so I understand why they didn't do that. It's just a little bit of a shame because I would have actually been in for that upgrade. Sorry, let me give you whiplash as I scroll about the page. I would have been in on deluxe chips for minions and towers, 100%. I would have upgraded that. My recommendation, if you were to go in on this, I don't know. Well, I'm torn. Yeah, that's basically it. I'm torn myself on whether or not I want to back this. And it's tough because I I do really want to play it. I just don't know how many times I'm going to play it. And so the inner completionist in me is seeing exclusive and all the characters I would be missing out on. And I'm having a tough time saying no to that. But it does over double the cost. Of course, you have some savings in shipping, which is nice. But is it worth it? Am I going to play it that many times? Are these other characters as well play-tested and balanced as the ones in the core game? I don't know. Sometimes it's just not the case, right? A lot of like CMON games will just give you a zillion characters, and some of those characters are, broken. They're not going to be as well play-tested as the base game characters. I don't know if that is true in this case. I have no idea. So I'm really torn on this one. I feel like I just don't know if I'm going to play it enough to justify getting all of the gameplay. But I also don't think the savings are here in this base tier for me to want to back it right now for sure. I think for my specific case at least, I think I'd probably only play it enough times for it to justify getting the base game only. And I just feel like it's only worth backing if you're going to go all in and this is going to be a game that you're playing frequently, right? Like I was thinking I mentioned 10, 20, 30 times to get all the variety and to be able to experience it and get the depth out of the game. So for me, that's the only thing that makes sense from a backing perspective. Whether it's here in the Standy Edition or the all-in, you have to kind of be all in on this game and game system. And like I said, probably be a fan of MOBAs already for this to really sing for you. And so, I don't know. If you are sure you want the game, I think backing at this tier is totally reasonable. It's just essentially buying the game and you'll get it sooner. But from a crowdfunding perspective, and if you are sure that this is going to be a mainstay in your collection, then I think the all gameplay or all in are the sensible choices, of course. And I do like that they did this for Skytear players. They can reuse. The sculpts are the same between the two games, although the games are different. The characters and the minis are the same. It might just be a different color plastic. But you can reuse that and not have to rebuy the same sculpts again. That's really cool. I feel like they did a lot of good things for the consumer in this campaign. And so, yeah, Skytear is a great company, or PvP Geeks. I forget exactly what they're called. I had a question in the past on their Discord about Skytear Horde. It's another game they have, like I mentioned, and the designer got back to me within like a few minutes. And this was just like 8 p.m. on a Tuesday or something, in America. So that was pretty cool. It seems like they really stand by their games. And so I feel like it's a safe back, and also the game's already developed. They mentioned that somewhere where basically they're just waiting to hit the print button. I mean, you saw the whole game in TTS. So I don't know. It gives me a lot of confidence in them as a company. I've had good experiences with their previous game. I just don't know if I'm going to play this one enough that I need all the gameplay. And again, whether or not I should back this or just wait for retail to get it. Okay, that's Onward. So clearly I need some guidance and advice as well. So if you guys have any opinions, please let me know in the comments. And also, I'm super new to doing anything YouTube. So if there's anything I can improve on, or if this was helpful, please let me know what you thought and how I can, make this more useful for you in the future. And if this was helpful, consider subscribing and sticking around. Yeah, thank you.